What?
What?
What the hell is this?
Harumph. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Give the governor harumph.
Harumph? You watch your ass.
I see you shiver with anticipation.
Let the show begin.
Hey everybody, this is David Heretic coming at you with another edition of Reaction, Reviews, and Rants. And tonight, alright, going back to Aldious. Yes, indeed, Aldious Fans Feeling You. Come on now. Here we go. Before we go any further, for those of you who are feeling inclined doing all of the clicks and the likes and the bibbity bop, do me a favor, before you do all that stuff, please watch the whole video first, okay? Give me a chance to actually earn those clicks and likes. Now, after the video's done, still feel like doing all those clicks and likes, then by all means, feel free to click away. This comes as a request from Zachary Loomis, and this is actually Zachary's prioritized request for the month of November for being a silver tier member on the Patreon page. So here you go, Zach. Hope you enjoy the show, man. Zach wanted to see me react to this. It is Aldious with a tune entitled Sweet Temptation. Now, have I heard this song before? No, I have not. To the best of my knowledge, this does not resonate with me in any way, shape, or form. However, there's always a possibility I may have heard this song in passing and I just don't realize it. There was always, if I start listening to the song and I suddenly go, wait a second, I have heard this song before. I'll let you know.
That's the truth.
You know me, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Well, let's see. This was posted by Aldious Official. All right. And the video has 1.6 million views. It'll get you there. Other than that, there's really nothing else left to say. Link to the original video will be down below in the video description for your viewing pleasure at your leisure. Let's get started. What do you say? Are you ready? Are you ready? Because here we go. All right, here we go. Aldious, Sweet Temptation, full version. Is there a shortened version? Maybe for radio play. That's very possible. So this is the full version of the song. Okay. I appreciate that. All right, let's do this.
All right, boy, let's do this.
First impressions. This doesn't sound like anything I've heard from Aldious so far. Aldious songs that I've heard for the most part on the channel, very upbeat, very fast, very majorly based, guitar tone, a little, usually from what I've heard from them, a little thicker, a little more crunch to it. This song, by stark contrast, much slower than I usually hear from them. Very minor bass. If I'm not mistaken, we're doing flat 2, flat 3. I think we're doing flat 6 as well. So that would be, I haven't heard the 7s yet. I don't know. It might be Phrygian, it might be Mixolydian, I'm not sure. If I had to guess, I'm going to say Phrygian. And that you're hearing in the vocal style in particular, you're really hearing it there. The guitar tone. This is the thing that's standing out to me the most. The guitar tone. It's still a metal guitar distortion style, but it's not nearly as thick as what I've heard from their live performances. It's a little more hollow, a lot more bite. Not so much crunch, but a lot of bite on the attack. It's different sounding. I'm not going to say whether I like it more or less. But it's different. I think I like it equally. It's nice to hear a little bit of a different approach from them. Give them some variety. It shows what they're capable of. It expands their repertoire for sure. But it's not bad. It's at the same time, I'm not going to say it's my new favorite style from them. No, I like the old style that I've heard from them, but I like this too. This is on equal level. And the overall feel of the song much darker than what I'm used to hearing from them. So I'm digging it. I am digging what I'm hearing, but like I said, I don't like it more or less than what I've heard from them in the past. It's just different. So anyway, let's get back into this, shall we? And let's see where we go from here. That 6-beat go back chugging. I like it. Nice accent. I like that flat 5 to 5. I like that flat 5 to 5. I love that. That sounds really nice. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I liked the guitar solo. I liked what was played during the guitar solo, but if I'm being honest, what was happening behind the guitar solo, I found to be a little more interesting. That 16th note pattern, that clean 16th note pattern within the rhythm guitar and bass, with the chokes and the stoppages at the end of each phrase. Man, that was clean. That was clean. Yeah. Oh. Man, so nice. It's so clean. It's very clean, but at the same time, it doesn't sound sterile. It doesn't sound like it was programmed. It's not so squeaky clean that it sounds digital. It doesn't sound inorganic. It still had the organic sound. You could tell these were real people playing real instruments. It was just the nicest balance you could possibly ask for. I love it. I love that section. I do. And like I said, I don't want to take anything away from the guitar solo. The guitar solo sounded just fine. Okay, it sounded really nice, but I just can't get over the backing section. That sounded really cool, man. I dug it. Linear fade. Linear fade. A song like this had so many opportunities for so many other ways you could have ended the song that honestly, I think would have been way more effective than a linear fade. You know, some rhythmic pattern, you know, coming off the 7, the flat 7 to the major 7 to the root. And when we hit the root, judgin, 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 something like that. Or judgin, 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 something like that. Or just hit the chord. Wow, wow, boom. And just hit that chord and just let it naturally decay. Or just a sudden stop. 7, 7, boom. And just end it with a slide down, you know? Down. That would have been, I think that would have been far more powerful than a linear fade. Yeah. There are some songs where a linear fade is going to make sense. There's some styles of songs where you just, you know, and it's usually one of those songs that just drones on and on and on and on. And it kind of makes sense because you kind of paint yourself into a corner. We've been droning on and dragging this ending out for over a minute. How are we going to end it? Can we end it suddenly? No, because we've been droning on for a minute. You know, that's not going to make sense. At that point, we kind of have to do a linear fade. If the songwriters and the producers and the engineers, they just can't think that they've been trying for hours, trying to come up with an ending, and they just cannot. Okay, fine. Last resort, linear fade, you know? I wonder if that's what happened here. But I mean, I came up with 3 examples of how they could have ended more powerfully. And I'm not even one of them. I'm not a producer. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a musician. But even I was able to, first time hearing this, I was able to come up with 3 different ways that they could have ended stronger, more emphatically. But they went with a linear fade. I mean, I hate to say it, but that could just come down to laziness, you know. Oh, we'll just linear fade it. Next, you know. I hope that's not the case. Yeah, I'm just, man, it's such a letdown because I was really digging the whole song, start up to the finish, and when we got to that linear fade, I felt my heart sink. I was like, oh, really? We're going to go this route? Good Lord. Why? Anyway, let me get my thoughts together. I'll see you in the review, and we'll talk about it. Well, there you go, folks. That was Aldious with Sweet Temptation. This was a request from Zachary Loomis. And this was actually Zachary's prioritized request for the month of November for being a silver tier member on the Patreon page. So there you go, Zach. Hope you enjoyed the show. Okay, I got a score, and I gotta say, it's actually, we ended up a little higher than I thought we were gonna end up. Just knee-jerk reaction when I'll see you when I say I'll see you in the review and we'll talk about it. A lot of times I'll have a score in my head, right then and there. I'll have an idea, and it never stays. Not usually. Usually it does move, and that was the case here. I just didn't see it going up as high as it did. On a scale of 1 to 10, believe it or not, I'm going to give that an 8.1. Yep, 8.1. I feel good about that score. Let me tell you why.
Why?
Okay, first things first, an 8.1, what does that mean? Well, an 8.1 would translate to a great scale rating because overall, I think this was a great song. It would also get 4 to 5 stars and an A- letter grade. So there you go. An 8.1, great skill rating, 4 to 5 stars, and an A- letter grade. Now, how did I come up with that score? So glad you asked. First things first, this was a studio recording. This was an official music video. So this was not a live performance. So that 8.1 is completely for the song itself. There's no help from any type of a live show, which most of their songs that we found on the channel have gotten. So that 8.1 is strictly based on the merit of the songwriting. So that's interesting right there and there. This song had a different approach to it than most of the songs I've heard from Aldious on the channel. I would say a good 95% of the songs we've had from Aldious on the channel have followed a very similar blueprint, a very similar roadmap as far as style and structure. You're going to get the dual harmonizing solo at some point. You're usually going to start with, the guitarist on stage right with the pink guitar, and then it's going to go to the other guitarist on stage left with the black guitar, and then they're going to come together and dual harmonize. Well, we didn't get that here. That's for starters. But there's usually that roadmap. There's usually that blueprint that they follow. And their songs are usually have a very positive, major scale feel to it. This song was different. It was a definite departure from what we've typically heard from them. Now listen, I have absolutely no problem with bands trying new things, trying new directions, trying new sounds. I have no problem with it as long as it sounds good, as long as it makes sense and it's conducive to the band. It's not such a stretch. It's not such a jump from their, usual sound that it leaves you scratching your head going, what in the world are we listening to? Can anybody say Judas Priest Turbo? You know what I'm talking about. It was not just such a departure from their usual sound that it left me scratching my head and questioning the entire existence of the universe. No, it definitely fit them. It was definitely them without question. It was just, I will say it was nice to hear a little bit of an expansion and a little bit of a different direction, giving them the ability to show off a different style, a different approach to kind of expand their repertoire. I think that's a good thing. When you have a band that plays the exact same style day in and day out, album to album, there's never any variation, there's never any change, that can get pretty old. That can get old and stale pretty quick. One of the reasons I used to love Dream Theater, and I'm starting to get back into them again, when they had their first 3 albums, it was the first 3 albums sounded very similar in style. I will say Awake did sound a little bit heavier and a little bit darker than Images and Words, but it still felt the same. You could tell it was Dream Theater. You know what I mean? And then they got to the 4th album, which we never talked about. We don't even acknowledge that album even exists. And then we move on to my personal favorite album from them, hands down, Scenes from a Memory. Love that entire album start to finish. But even then, it still had a lot of ties to the first 3 albums. It wasn't until we got to Train of Thought where they started to get really heavy, super heavy. And I was kind of digging that until we got to Octavarium, and I absolutely fell out of love with them. I hope that doesn't happen with these ladies. I hope that never happens to the point where their fan base, gets alienated by them taking new directions and new steps. You never want that to happen. You never want to change your direction and your style so much that you lose the fan base that built you up to this, to the current position that you're in. I don't think that's the case. I hope that's not the case. I hope history doesn't repeat itself with these ladies, but I don't see it happening. I don't think that's going to happen.
We'll see.
So as far as the songwriting goes, there were certain things that anchored to what we've heard from them, but they definitely took some different directions. For starters, the guitar tone, that was probably one of the most noticeable things right off the gun, along with a bit of a slower tempo at a straight time feel. The guitar tone, usually when I've heard them play live, it's very thick, it's very crunchy. This had a little more of a hollow sound to it. Not quite as thick, not quite as crunchy, a lot more bite on the attack, which was a little different sound than what I've heard from them. But it's not like they went so far into left field that it wasn't recognizable. No, it still sounded like Aldious. Absolutely. The slower tempo with a straight time feel, a little different than what we usually hear from them. We hear a lot of double time from them, usually in the past. And don't get me wrong, we had our double time moments in the chorus, where they kicked into that double time feel with the snare on the upbeats, which was nice. But primarily the song in a slower, straight time feel, a little bit of a heavier feel. It was different. It sounded good though. Yeah, I have absolutely no complaints about it. Again, it was nice to see them expand their horizons a little bit. Playing in a predominantly minor feel and in a minor mode throughout most of the song. The only time we got, the major feels in there was on the chorus, which felt interesting. Even then, most of the chorus was in that major feel, but it did transition back to minor about 2/3 of the way through. It transitioned back into that minor feel, so that was nice. It was nice. Going back to the guitar solo, and listen, the guitar solo was
Nice.
really nice. I like what was played. I enjoyed the guitar solo, but if I'm being honest, what was happening behind the guitar solo were those syncopated rhythmic patterns in the backing guitar, in the rhythm guitar, and in the bass. Following along a lot of the times what was happening within the drums with those 16th note patterns, those accents, and the chokes on the drum, on the cymbals. All playing in unison, all syncopated. I gotta say, I dug that part more than I dug the solo. And like I said, I don't want to take anything away from the solo. The solo was nice. It sounded really good, but I really dug what was happening in the rhythmic pattern behind them. And that can be said throughout the entire song. The rhythmic cleanliness that was being played, it was super clean. Now, I understand this was a studio recording. You're going to have filters and you're going to have, compression, and you're going to noise gate the hell out of it. You're going to do whatever you can to make it sound as tight as possible. And they honestly did a great job with it. But ultimately, it comes down to the musicianship. It really does. There's only so much you can fix in Pro Tools. And don't get me wrong, you can fix a lot in Pro Tools. But there are just certain things that Pro Tools can do, and there are certain things that Pro Tools can't do. And I gotta say, the rhythmic play on this, the cleanliness was outstanding. I dug it. Vocally, I think, what's her name? Reno, I think is her name. The vocalist, I think her name is Reno. She did a fine job across the board, knowing when to send it up into the higher octaves and when to keep it down in her lower range, knowing when to project and when to pull back. Singing with great feel and great taste. Don't get me wrong, her pitch, like I said, studio recording. I'm sure, just like every other recording artist, I'm sure there was some auto-tuning used, just to pitch correct a little bit here and there. I'm sure it happened. It didn't sound like it was very slight. So that was nice. I was glad to hear that. I'm sure there was pitch correction done, but I have no idea where, because I couldn't tell. Which is a great job on the engineer's part. The overall, the drumming, the bass playing, setting up the foundation. I loved everything about this. I really did. I thoroughly enjoyed this song. Everything about it. Except the ending. The ending just left me feeling hollow. I'm sorry, but a linear fade, really? Why? Why would you do that with a song that is so strong? It doesn't make sense. And before people go, well, that's how they wrote it. Well, again, whose call was that? And don't tell me they ran out of ideas. I gave you 3 examples of what you could do for an ending on this song. 3 separate examples of how you could have ended this song strong and powerfully with that exclamation point, boom, right at the end. Would have made a lot more sense. You know what? I'll show you. Give me a second here. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
All right, so I got my vampire here, my 5-string vampire. So let me just give you some examples. Let me just give you the 3 examples I was talking about. So they're coming off of the 7, flat 7 to the natural 7. We're in E, right? Okay, so they're coming off the D to the D sharp to the E. That's the end of the phrase. So here's the D, here's the flat 7 to the natural 7, And then from there we go to the root. Now, when we get to the root, I'm just going to give you, and there are more. I thought of more while we were talking. I thought of even more ideas, but I'm going to give you the 3 that I came up with. Okay. So here's the first one, which would be a rhythmic pattern. So something like that, da-dun, 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 da-dun. That could end the song right there. That's one idea. Or we could take a little different approach. Something like that, maybe, If not a rhythmic pattern, okay, a couple of other ideas. Other idea would be, hit the final note and just let it resonate and let it decay on its own. That could work too, right? That could absolutely work. Better than a linear fade. There's another idea, the sudden stop approach. We hit the root note, and that's it. We just boom, and we can even do a slide off of it. We can do a slide down off of it. Much stronger, much more powerful, much more of an exclamation point than a linear fade. I'm sorry, this song deserves a stronger ending than a linear fade. And the more I think about it, the more, I hate to say this, but the more I'm leaning toward laziness. The writing is absolutely on the wall, okay? Just off the top of my head. Now, I'm not even a member of the band. I'm not a member of the production team. I'm not a member of the engineering team. I'm just a musician. But off the top of my head, I came up with, at the time, 3 different scenarios. I have more ideas in my head that we could do. But just off the top of my head, the first three ideas that came to mind were those 3. And any one of them would be a much stronger ending to a strong song. Now, if this is one of those songs that just drones on and on and on, and the ending is going, just repeating itself for over a minute, okay, fine, a linear fade, why not? It actually makes sense, to do a linear fade at that point. The more I think about it, the more I'm chalking this up just pure and simple laziness. Now, who gets the blame for that? I'm going to be honest with you, folks. More than likely, it's the producers. I'll bet you anything it was the producer that put the final word on it and said, "This is what we're going to do. If you don't like it, too bad. I'm the producer." And linear faded. Why, I don't know, but I would have to talk to the producer about that. But it just does not make any sense to do a linear fade on a song like this that had an ending set up the way that it did. So I'm sorry, but that ending, it left a bad taste in my mouth. It really did. It just makes 0 sense, and honestly, I think it's in poor taste. So the score did come down a little bit. Now, I'm not going to say how much, okay? It might have been, we might have been at an 8.2. We might have been at an 8.3. We might have been an 8.4. But here's the thing. And I want people to take solace in this, okay? Yes, we did come down in a score. But even if we were at 8.4, it still would have gotten a great scale rating. It still would have gotten 4 stars, and it still would have been an A- letter grade. So those 3 factors did not change at all. The only thing that changed was the numeric score. And we're literally talking about a 0.1, 0.2, or 0.3 difference. It really doesn't matter, okay? And before you even think about asking me, oh, what was it? I'm not going to tell you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell you. You could draw your own conclusion, okay? If you want to think it was an 8.2, think it was an 8.2. If you want to think it was an 8.4, then think it was an 8.4, okay? But I'm not going to tell. So don't waste your time asking. in any case, it's still a great song. I absolutely dug it. I would love to see if they play this song live. I hope they do, because it would be a definite departure from what their typical song sounds like. And it would definitely add a little spice to that live show for sure. It would be interesting to see. It would be really interesting to see how the crowd reacts to this song. I would love to see that and see, because I'm wondering, are we going to see them just blow the roof off the place because they're so happy that they're playing a song that sounds a little different than the one they normally do? Or is the crowd going to stand there slack-jawed like, what is this? This isn't your typical Aldious song. I'd be really curious to see how the crowd reacts. So in any case though, 8.1, I feel good about that score, and that's where we're going to stay. So let's wrap everything up here in a nice shiny bow, shall we? We have an 8.1, which is a great skill rating, 4 to 5 stars, and an A- letter grade. Take your pick, I don't care. Whichever one of those floats your boat. Final word, final score, I have spoken. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Reactions, Reviews, and Rants. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Hopefully I was able to entertain you. If I was able to put a smile on your face and brighten your day, then I did my job, and I'm so glad I could do it. If you guys feel like joining the fan base, go ahead and click on that button down there. If you guys want to like the video, go ahead and like the video. If you guys want to ring the bell, go ahead and ring the bell. It honestly doesn't make any difference at all to me, but if you guys feel like doing these things, well then by all means feel free to do so. Well, that's going to do it for tonight, folks. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, this is David Heretic signing off, reminding you to stay fabulous and support each other. Later. Peace.